everyone, so I wanted to start a conversation on how we can try to stay out of the grocery store more. So we're grocery shopping less. Obviously this is a concern with our current situation, but you know, it also saves time. So this is kind of something that I'd like to try to continue to save me time in the future. So one of the things that I've been better at is planning ahead of time. So I keep a running list on my phone on an app that I use, a grocery list. And anytime I see that we're out or low on something, I go ahead and add it to the list. And what I also like about this app is that by store, it saves what I typically buy from each store. So I can look through the list and look at all the things I typically buy from the store that I'm going to and double check and make sure that I don't need it, or make sure if I need to buy it. Another thing that I do is I scan the items in my pantry, in my refrigerator, and make sure that I'm not missing anything. And I know some people are really into meal planning, and if that's your thing, make sure you have your meals planned and you know everything you need to get for it. I typically don't do that. I just typically know what my family and I eat, and I buy meat and produce and grain or whatever, and plan meals around what I have in the house instead of prepping for specific meals. So when you're in the grocery store and you're buying your produce, I have been typically making sure that I buy produce that has a short shelf life, a medium shelf life, and a long shelf life. This way you have a variety of things throughout the next couple of weeks that you're not going grocery shopping. And of course, I use the things that have a short shelf life first. And within that list of things that have a short shelf life, I will use the things that you either can't freeze or you don't want to freeze first. So for instance, if I buy lettuce and I buy spinach, I'm eating that lettuce first because I know if I can't get through the spinach, at least I can throw it in the freezer and I can have it later. Other things other than lettuce and spinach that are on the list of things that don't last long include berries, grapes, green beans, avocados. However, you can get a longer shelf life off avocados if once they are ripe, you stick them in the refrigerator. They do last a lot longer that way. Bananas, peaches, tomatoes, and mushrooms. Now, things that have more like a medium shelf life where you get about 2 weeks out of them are things like broccoli, kiwi if you buy it when it's hard, and then that way when it's at home it has time to ripen up and then you can get more time out of it that way. Melons, pears, pineapple if you wait a week to cut it and then you cut it up and you stick it in the fridge, then you have a little bit more time with it that way as well. And cauliflower. And things that last longer, that can last you maybe 3 or 4 weeks, are things like root vegetables, like potatoes, sweet potatoes, turnips. Other things that fit into that category are your citrus fruits like lemons, limes, oranges, and grapefruit, as long as you keep them in the fridge. Onions, garlic, apples, cabbages, pomegranate, carrots, squash, Brussels sprouts. I'll tell you, I know citrus and carrots will last like 2 months in the fridge. I've also been making sure to have frozen vegetables and fruit on hand. So this way, when I'm running out of fresh vegetables, I could grab some frozen fruit and vegetables out of the freezer. I don't start tearing into my frozen vegetables until I'm running pretty low on my fresh vegetables, or to add some variety why I still have some medium shelf life and long shelf life vegetables on hand. I also keep some canned vegetables on hand too. The same thing as the frozen, to use when my fresh vegetables are getting low, and also to create some variety of produce to our meals. I do stay away from canned fruit because in the past I've just noticed that it usually has added sugar. Maybe there's a product out there where there's canned not added sugar to the canned fruit. I just haven't run across that. So if there is, let me know in the comments below. Eggs have been the hardest part for me because before all of this started, I would buy 5 to 6 packs of the 18 packs of eggs when I go grocery shopping. And now the grocery store that I shop at limits it to 3 packs of eggs, and they don't even have the 18 pack available most of the time. So I'm buying 3 dozen of eggs at a time. So that's been the thing that has been keeping me back to the grocery store more than I would like to. The only thing I could say about a tip for your eggs is you can buy the whole eggs and you can buy egg whites, and that will give you a little bit more eggs to have for the weeks to come. And a tip for the milk is if you buy the big gallon of milk, it usually has a shorter shelf life than the cartons of milk. So I will buy the big gallon of milk, and then I'll buy a carton of 2 of the half gallons. And then this way we'll use the gallon first, and then we'll have the cartons that usually they have a shelf life of I think it's 2 months. And if you have the freezer space, make sure to have a variety of meat in your freezer if you can. I know it's getting kind of hard to buy. You can also utilize canned meat. So that'd be like canned chicken breast, canned salmon, canned tuna. And I know it sounds kind of weird, but there are some meals that you can make with them that are quite tasty. We made some nachos the other day, I should say the other week, with canned chicken, and it was great. You can also try to get some non-meat meals in to extend the time until you have to buy some meat. So getting your protein through beans. There are some pasta that have beans in it, so maybe you're making a meal that has, even if it has meat, maybe has less meat than you normally would eat. Another biggie is make sure you are not wasting your food. So you bring all this food into your house, and you really got to keep on top of it and making sure you know what you have and using up the things that are going to go bad first. And if you feel like you have something that's about to go bad, do something with it. Either cook it right away or put it in the freezer. You can even can some of your vegetables if you need to. If your apples are going bad, you can make applesauce out of it. If your bananas are about to go bad, you could stick them in the freezer and have them in smoothies later. You can make banana pancakes with them. You can make different breads with them. So don't let things go bad. Changing your shopping habits, you're gonna really have to think about what your family's gonna need over the next 2 to 3 weeks. When you're used to maybe planning going once a week, you're gonna really have to change your train of thought there. So usually I budget my food for my family per week. Like, this is how much I spend a week, and I try not to go over it. So it was a little nerve-wracking for me. Like when I did my Costco trip, I was trying to actually shop for 2 months of Costco because I didn't want to go back to Costco for 2 months. So I spent a lot more money than I normally do when I'm at Costco normally every other week or maybe even every week. And here I am trying to go 2 months. So it was a little hard for me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm spending all this money. And but in reality, I'm not going to be going back there for 2 months. One thing I wanted to talk about that I didn't talk about when I recorded before is that I wash all my produce when I get home, and I really think it helps extend the life of your produce because you're getting off any extra bacteria. But before I put it away, I make sure it is completely dry. So I dry everything on top of towels on my counter, and just make sure everything is completely dry, especially that lettuce. Consider using the order online pickup service. So that's what I'm doing next week for my eggs, because I know I don't have enough eggs to last me 2 weeks. Instead of having to go into the grocery store and having to go through the whole thing of like, oh, now I'm getting home and I'm changing my clothes, and having to go into the store, I'm ordering my eggs online, and this way I'm just picking up eggs. Maybe I might order some milk, but it's a very light shopping trip that week. I'm just picking up a couple essentials, and that's it. So that's what I've been doing to try to stay out of the grocery stores. I would love to hear what you guys are doing. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Bye.